Welcome, everyone. For those who are just joining us, we are beginning round two in the first match of the SMB3 Randomizer 2020 tournament, the bracket stage featuring Magooisadorable and YoBGS. We just finished what was an incredibly taxing seed with an outstanding performance from both of our racers. It just doesn't matter how much experience you have with SMB3 Randomizer. Just having 6-6 as your opening level with 7-5 not far away, it's definitely a situation you hate to see. But nonetheless, YoBGS nabbed the first victory in round one, so we'll see if Magoo is able to make a comeback. Although this is a best-of-3 match, this is ultimately going to be a single elimination bracket as per our format. And as was mentioned previously, once again, the bracket flag set will have shuffled world order levels and a random number of forts within each respective world. Neither of our racers, however, will encounter any end-spade card games, nor will hammers break any locks. So with that being said, do get your guesses in on what world we'll be seeing first. I'm going to go with 3.
So we have 5 last time. You said 3, so I'll say 7 just to have a mirror image of it.
All right, sounds great.
And then we can have the whole like reverse order thing because we had 1 through 7 in the group stages, so we'll have 7 through 1 going for that. That would be hilarious. But yeah, let's just see how this goes, because the last one was very rude at the beginning there, as you say. 6-6 opening is one of the toughest stages you can come across for sure, and yeah, 7-5 didn't exactly help, so we'll just have to see.
So the countdown has begun, and we'll see what we have in store for us.
Both of these runners are, as you say, fantastic players, though. I mean, Magoo really stuck that ending out. You can very easily see how difficult it can be to manage your resources correctly here. You may want to take a couple of extra toad houses this time. Hey, well, 4, okay. So World 4 is one where you always absolutely have to do a fort, like without question, because the bridge at the end always has to be built. So interesting difference of strategy here. So Magoo is going to play the fort first, goes for Navy, and YoBGS is just saying, I think the fort is going to be the one on the other side of the world. That's what we're going to need to do, the one next to the ending. So if he's right, then he'll save a little bit of time here for sure. Nice power-up acquisition in 6-7 here as well. And if Magoo will be able to immediately see if he is correct, because of where this fort is, it pushed the screen over, so at least Navy's not too long of a stage, and he didn't get it right. Oh, wow.
That's unfortunate, yeah. He's going to play 6-7 as well. Meanwhile, YoBGS is going to be going into that fort that he's going to, that will help him unlock the bridge, and having that power-up is going to be a great way to start things off.
I wonder if he's a little bit upset about seeing that star there. Shot a lot of fireballs into that thing.
There's something about Sledge Bros where they always have that 200 IQ move where they decide whether or not to jump, so it's very easy to get trapped in by them.
Yeah, it's very painful. So YoBGS going into 5F1 here. This stage is actually deceptively difficult when it comes to Randomizer. It's got a really decent run through the first half of it here, but it is so easy to trip up on a lot of the stuff here, just because the waffle rotation is randomized, so that plus the random enemies can sometimes mess you up as well if you're dropping dry bones or something.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like when you're playing vanilla SMB3, all the rotodisc trajectory paths are going to be situated in such a way where you can just build P speed right at the beginning and then just carry all the way the rest of the way through with the to get to the doorway. You don't necessarily have that luxury unless you're starting off the first half of the fort with a star and then just taking it a little more carefully towards the end.
Oh, just a single hit for Iggy here. So Magoo's having a little bit of issue. Maybe doesn't realize you can run under these when small. It's having a little bit of trouble with that. But yeah, nice and quick Iggy fight. Definitely something you want to see. This star is going to help a lot in finishing this stage off.
Yeah, for sure.
just charge straight for everything, kill the font because you can. You might as well, you know.
Yeah, we just see right away, like just with the way just with the two divergence in paths, you can see what a huge difference it can make.
Yeah. Like, luckily the fort wasn't too long. If it was like 8F or something, this would be a much bigger gap, but as we see a different beta stage to what we had last time, so they're the 1.5 beta this time. Used to be a really tough level for me until I kind of realized these enemies are always the same. Like, the beta stages sometimes have that property where the enemies are just the exact same every time, or in the case of the new beta stage we haven't seen yet, it's the enemy set that's the same, so you can at least predict a little bit of what's going to happen.
You're always going to see those Buzzy Beetles right at the beginning of the 1.5 betas, but you still have to be really careful with how you kick the shell to clear a path to yourself, because if you chase the shell when you have P-Speed, it's always a possibility that it could just ricochet as soon as it hits the terminal end and just get you right in the head.
Yeah, I've been on the wrong end of that.
As GamerCal mentioned, all the enemy spawns are pretty much going to be the same, pretty consistent whenever you play that level, but the only divergence you might see is depending on how fast you get through certain sections, you could potentially despawn certain piranha plants.
Okay, can we talk about how YoBGS shot that spiny egg that was literally right on top of him there? Like, how did he do that? I have never seen that before. Also, kind of interesting, going from 7.3 to 3.4, the kind of both grassland P-Speed style stages.
It looks like YoBGS had a really impressive P-Speed movement. Like, he just barely filled that meter and did a slight turn back so he could just get to the top of that hill and then just cross the chasm.
Oh, Magoo didn't quite get all the enemies killed down the bottom there, so had to just make a leap for it onto the piranha plant, unfortunately. And a weird hit from YoBGS at the end of 3.4 there too. He didn't really need to jump, so I'm not quite sure what that was all about, but whatever. 4.2 coming up here. This stage you can actually get 2 boss passes in. It's kind of like scary, but not really, because you don't need to go near them, but it's still just the ominous double. Oh, ouch. Another awkward enemy not dying for Magoo here.
Even when the floor is on the lower path, like even when the floor is on the lower end of their cycle, I don't think it dips down low enough so that the boss bass can grab you at any rate. It's actually one of those levels where I prefer not to have a tail, so I could just do a pretty consistent P-Speed strat.
Yeah, I've been trying to learn how to do that myself. Haven't quite got there yet. 6.2 coming out here for YoBGS. It's a little bit of an awkward stage in Rando because the auto-scroll here actually serves to show you where the next platforms and such are. You've kind of got to just do it blind in this. And with the tail, it's not too bad, but it's very easy to get sidetracked if you do something different in that stage compared to your usual route. Alright. So, 2 forwards, take your pick. Neither. Good choice. Alright. Hammer first to get a P-Wing. That's not too bad. Decent trade for a star. Yeah, bottom one I think is... Oh
no.
Ouch.
Barely undershot that jump. You have to be really careful with how you jump because sometimes the incline of that hill can just kill your momentum. And then just...
So I think YoBGS is taking the right fort here because he will gain access to another pipe going down here. So even if it's not actually the correct fort to finish the world, it might be the one that gets to the ending pipe. So I think he's on the right track, even if... Ooh, Magoo, be careful! That part is scary. He doesn't quite get the 5-up, unfortunately. So he's still going to have to be really careful during this. This World 3 is level heavy at the beginning here. Those are two you don't really want to be dealing with. Oh, interesting. Just YoBGS going around that way instead. Wanted to see, I guess, if it broke that lot first. Ow! Micro Goomba, please.
It never hurts to gain a little bit of intel by doing some pipe checks before you decide to play any more forts, because sometimes you could skip certain forts and then you could just go straight to the island where the ship is and there's no lock in front of you. It's not very common that happens, but it does.
Oh, unfortunate game over
Oh,
there for Magoo as well. Just a little bit too early on the jump for going past the fireball there. Hey,
and
nice easy free F1 for YoBGS to finish this world off.
clouds your inventory. He has no choice but to play a lot of those levels again.
Oh. And Magoo is maybe trying to rush through a little bit too quickly here in this 1-5. It's one you can play consistently, but it is also one that you have to be very sort of cautious with, I guess. Cautious aggression, I think, is probably the best way of putting it. I see a nice star for YoBGS here.
Ooh.
Oh.
You always have to be really wary with the fire piranha shoots.
Yeah, so what's your strat for dealing with that then?
Usually I'll just take one of the Koopa shells on top and then just throw it at them so I can open a path for myself.
Yeah.
And if I'm just too late with grabbing the Koopa shell and I just don't really have that option, then I'll just wait for the fireballs to pass, let the piranhas go back into their pipes, and then just slide through.
Right. I think the way the Human Mustard sort of taught me playing that one is grab the first Koopa, and then just before you start getting to where, the entranceway, throw the Koopa shell into the entranceway. And so that way you can knock out the piranha plant as soon as it comes up, and the shell goes into the space between the two pipes, and you don't get caught by the Koopa on the top right as well. Nice Wendy for YoBGS there. Not really any issues with it, despite being in the World 4 airship. Probably the worst arena to fight her in, to be honest. At least it's the one that kills me the most anyway, so I don't know.
Yeah, 7.3 has a pretty interesting gimmick where in vanilla you would just grab the star from the question mark block right away and then just start a chain of stars just to let you carry your way through the rest of the level. I haven't really seen if that's a consistent thing in Randomizer or if those question mark blocks are replaced with other power-ups as well, but if that's the case, probably
go on.
Potential opportunity to grab some power-ups along the way.
Yeah. Now, that first block is not always a star, but if it is a star, then you can chain just as you would in vanilla. Okay. So another 1-4 World 7. Did see 7-10 there. So gotta make our way down to that bottom island, do a couple of stages, break the lock at the end, which we have seen the end, so that's good.
Please know that there's a lock in our way, so hopefully with enough pipe checks you'll find an exit that'll just bring them straight to the fort.
Right. And this again is another sort of good indicator of the differences between Group 2 and Brackets, because in Group 2, even this early in, nice finding it, even this early in you would likely be able to get a hammer by now to break that lock, so you wouldn't have to even look for the fort here. But in Brackets, you've gotta do things the hard way.
I was just going to say that having a tail is usually really helpful for getting through 1-6 because it'll allow you to just fly over. You don't have to worry about taking that line-guided platform to the end.
I can never seem to get that to work. I don't know what it is about me building up P-Speed in that bit, but every time I go over the gaps, it happens a lot in 2-4 as well. Every time I'm going over the gaps, a single tile thing of that, it just kills my P-Speed generation. I have no idea what I'm doing wrong with that, but...
The way P-Speed works in this game is the game checks your meter and the way you're running every 8 frames. So if you're running over a gap while that checkpoint is happening, then it'll disrupt the flow of the meter build. And just the fact that you accelerate a little bit slower when you have the tail, that could complicate things a little bit further. So every turn back that you do just to start the cycle over again, that could cost you about 3 to 4 seconds each time. So you don't want to...
Also, for the record, I respect the flyover that in 6F3 there. That I used to do that all the time when I was starting up the randomizer stuff here. So I still do it from time to time if I have the P-wing going in or something. I respect the fly, just because you don't have to deal with the stupid thwomps in the way then.
Yeah, I always do a duck jump under the thwomp just so I have a shorter hitbox, so I have a little bit more time just to get past them.
Yeah. I love having a star for that stage. It's just boss pass comes up and it's just like, you are not eating me today, mister. If you can't note block the Piranha and the Nipper stages away, using a star on them is definitely the fastest way through. So we see both 2 fort and 2 airship going on at the same time at the moment. It's kind of neat.
We'll see how YoBGS decides to approach the Ludwig fight. Have a really jumpy Ludwig fight, so it's going to be really hard to do a fire kill if that's the direction he decides to go. But I think it looked like he was a 2-hitter, so we're out of here.
Yeah, like I mentioned before with this and the difference between like Ludwig and Rory in this case, they both do jump really high if they don't have earthquakes, but Ludwig's a lot more aggressive with it usually. So if you just try and rush him at the beginning like you would with Rory, most of the time you're going to be met with a jump to the face. So it's tough because like sometimes you don't actually want to approach him because of that, but then if he shoots and is an earthquaker, you can get into trouble because of that too. So yeah, it's a tough fight to approach. Oh, another 3-fort World 5.
I've never been tripped up by an early jump pattern in my life.
No, not at all. So yeah, once again with... Oh, I forgot the door was there even if you don't use the P-switch. Definitely not a direction you want to go. If you've ever done that in vanilla, there's about 3 or... Oh no! Ouch. There's about 3 or 4 rooms to that. One of them is a 7-6 like vertical thing as you see at the beginning. And then you've got to go through, I think, one other room before you get to like this bonus one that has a 1-up if you fly. It's super long. It's just like... It's probably twice as long as the rest of the fort combined.
The block that YoBGS just passed will activate a P-switch that will visualize the door that you go in to get to that room that Gamer Cal was just talking about, but the door is actually still there even if you don't activate it.
So don't hold up when you're going past that, just in case. Oh, 6-5. Bit of an ugly stage to see. Boss Bass is quite frequent here, but not with a giant enemy set, so... That is one actual thing that you can note. In levels where Boss Bass can appear, say 3-7, 4-6, stuff like that, if you see the giant enemies at the beginning, then you're pretty safe from Boss Bass. He can't actually show up in those stages. Meanwhile, Wendy giving a good old climb over there. It's really annoying to fire kill Wendy when this airship layout, just because she can sometimes immediately climb up the staircase and just disrupt you entirely.
There is that potential hazard, but she could also just stay put in that corner and just let you shoot 10 into her, no problem.
Yeah.
It really comes down to what she decides to do.
Yeah, it's unpredictable to say the least. Okay, so up in the sky, we actually don't have to do any more forts. Nice call by BGS there. So we didn't get to see it this time, but if he was in Spiral Tower and still like coming up from Spiral Tower rather than the pipe transition, he could have actually taken the death there to see the top screen to just gauge whether or not any more forts had to be done. But because it led between the 2 pipes rather than between the pipe and the tower, no need to worry about that this time. Also, you can just cross straight over the tower as well. It's treated as a pipe as far as the game goes. I believe it's been said if you could skip that in 100%, it wouldn't be negative. Like you'd just do it because it doesn't count as a level since there's no ending to it. Ooh, nice fire flower there as well. Can still do the P-speed strat in this World 7 airship. That's Magoo making his way through 1-6 here. Has found his way to the pipe maze fort, which is good. Just gotta make his way through the stage, and then you can do that no problem.
It's pretty common to see players use P-speed on the upper platforms where the gap between those 2 beams are in order to stomp on a flying Koopa that would normally be in the air, and that would give you the boost needed to get straight to the level card. But with a randomizer, you just never know what that enemy's going to be. So more often than less, it's going to be something like a fire chump like we just saw, or a fire snake. So if you don't have a tail to just fly over, then pretty much your only option is just to use the wooden platform.
Yeah. Very awkward Roy fight for YoBGS there. He managed not to get hitbox shenanigans as well, which is pretty useful. But Yeah, being just a little bit too close to the big gap and like the corner of the big gap there. He couldn't jump over like you would normally see. He ended up ricocheting off the wall instead, and that leads to a lot more trouble going through that. Alright, so 4-1. There is one box here that YoBGS is about to come up to. The big question block there. That always has a leaf in it. I don't know if that's because the power-up might despawn if it's not a leaf or what, but yeah, it's a weird little one. Most of the power-ups are randomized in this unless they are forced to not be for level progression purposes, like 7F1. But that one doesn't have that restriction, and yet is still not randomized for some reason. I mean, it's good to know you can get a guaranteed power-up out of it, at least. So, YoBGS into 1-2. It's usually Boss Bass or Cheap appears right where he just was. Not in this case, luckily, but...
It's also pretty common to encounter Angry Sun as well.
Yeah. Thankfully, with the Angry Sun, if he is in a stage, he appears at the very beginning of the stage, so you always know that the presence is there. I think 5-3 is the exception, because you start on the right and then you go left, but then he appears in that stage and just never does anything because he's not there on the way down.
He doesn't start swooping down at you until you're just like half a screen away from the level card, so it's too late for him to do anything anyway.
Yep. So Magoo did get a fire kill on Ludwig there, even though it's only 2 hits, but he was able to get the fire kill, no problems. That's very useful as well. Nice cloud for YoBGS here. The seed definitely looking a little bit on the friendlier side so far.
Yeah, without a doubt. I haven't seen any signs of 6-6 or 7-5 anywhere so far. but I'm not going to jinx it. Hopefully it's not too late just by saying that.
So one thing with World 6 usually has 3 forts and 10 stages. But in our fort shuffle situation here, it can have as low as 1 fort, right? But there is no card in there's no like level card in the code to go above 10 because this is the world that has the most stages. And so if there are fewer forts in this one, there are more 10 cards because it would be like stage 11, stage 12, but instead it's just like 2 or 3 stage 10s. So if you see like multiple stage 10s early, you know there aren't as many forts in this world, which can be very good information to like judge whether or not to play a fort that's in the way. Also, just a random aside, I have no idea how YoBGS dodged that fireball that again went like straight through him from the fire bro there. Just like, I don't know, he ducked and the fireball went through him and it was fine, I guess.
You have a couple odd interactions with some of the bros in this in Randomizer, especially because, like, take for example 2-4. More often than less, when you're running with P-Speed towards the level card at the end of 2-4, there's usually a jumping hammer bro that's just right there waiting for you, and you'll pretty much always just phase right through him if you collide.
Yeah. So the hammer bro like properties and stuff are interesting that way. If there's a regular hammer bro that appears on screen, it will always immediately jump at the start, so you can say at the end of the pyramid, you can use that as you're going up the pipe, see, oh, it's a regular hammer bro, I can just run under that, no problem. The fire bros don't. The boomerang bros just usually go forwards and backwards a bit, so you know you could jump over those. Then the sludge bro is a bot and does whatever it wants, so you've got to respect that.
I'm pretty confident that the Fire Bros hitbox is just a couple pixels above their feet, because sometimes it takes multiple attempts just bonking them with the block in order for them to drop down and go away.
So, yeah, Boss Bass in 610, always an interesting endeavor. Magoo's 5-7 went pretty well, too. I think it's, 5-5 is the one that's got the donut blocks, right? So
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's 5-7 he was going through there. Nice and straightforward. Yep. 610 is one that can easily trip you up if you're not careful, but going in with a Fire Flower is pretty good. And this is where like brackets play gets really interesting. We do have to do the fort here. That's fine, it's not that far away, right? It's at the top. Brackets play gets really interesting because it's like the more consistent you can do the stages without taking damage, the more chance you'll have like a fire flower or sometimes a leaf going through them, and the easier some stages get. Like that 610 would have been really bad if there was no fire to begin with, but
It's true,
because
yeah.
he kept the fire flower going through, made it so much easier. Speaking of fire flowers, Magoo's like on his second fire kill there, killing Roy with it too. Very good.
Really nicely done. Yeah, I would say that the most scary part of a 610 with boss bass is just right in the beginning when you have that really narrow pathway where you have to break open the ice blocks in order to get to the other side of the wall. But I would say that, because you not only have him to worry about, but more often than less it's paired with the Paracomb that's just right there waiting to drop down on you as well.
Yeah. Okay, so the World 3 airship for the Lemmy fight here is actually really cool because Lemmy kind of spawns in the floor a little bit here. So he's actually low enough to the ground that you can just easily shoot him with fire without having to jump at him. So this one, nice straightforward fire kill. Although this is also one where he's likely to fall through the floor as well if you're not careful. I don't know exactly how that works, but it is basically a hard lock if you do that. So,
And, yeah, about those hard locks. Sometimes when you're doing the fire kills on the Koopalings, if you shoot them on the 10th fireball, that would normally take them out. On the same frame that they're trying to attack you, either by throwing a ball or one of their wand projectiles at you, then it'll cause a glitch where they'll just fall through the floor and they'll just die like any other regular enemy. But at the same time, your in-game timer stops, so you have no way of timing out, and you have no way of grabbing the wand. So yeah, that is effectively a soft lock.
So, a couple of interesting points. There was a cloud from Peach there, so we'll see if that gets used this time. And this World 1 is potentially really easy compared to what they usually are in brackets, because that lock that's at the end of the world might just get broken by the fort which we have to clear to get to the end of the world. So, but if it doesn't, that's 3 more stages to do as we get to everybody's favorite fort, right? Good old 7F2.
Yeah,
The way go on.
So yeah, if you don't have the if the question mark block doesn't give you a star, that'll allow you just to run through the majority of 7F2's first room. At the very most, you would want to have at least a secondary power up like the tail, just to make navigation a little easier on yourself.
You can do some really cool tricks with the tail in this one, like especially if you've come in from like 7F1 in sort of linked world, and you end up going through with the Tanuki, so you can do some really cool tricks with them in this stage. And it's kind of a quirk with a randomizer. If there are 2 forts in the world, and say you see, in this case, 7F2 was the first one, there's a pretty reasonable chance the one at the top is 7F1. It's not always the case, but there's a decent bit of co-linking, it seems, with the stuff here. Oh no, Magoo!
I think I've seen similar things with the World 1 fort and then 5F2, or both of the World forts being together.
World 4 ones linked together, sometimes World 3. Oh no! Whoa!
Ooh.
That's an interesting one. Just a little bit off in the flutter there. It's one of the big disadvantages to the Leaf, I think. Although, I mean, it just depends on how you've set yourself up. But sometimes the Leaf, when you're about to land, will just, instead of jumping again, if you're trying to time it that way, you'll end up just like fluttering maybe a frame before you hit the ground or something, and so you'll hear the flutter, but it's already gone, and so you'll end up just like running on the ground because you thought you were jumping and you're not, and so you die in a really dumb way.
That's usually why GamerCal and I like to get rid of our tail as soon as we're doing the Air Force or just any sort of level that requires a lot of platform hopping.
Alright, World 2 coming up. Multiple forts in this world as well. Not the greatest of starting forts, I will admit, but it's not 6F1, so we're alright.
Pretty interesting to note that you'll always get a fire flower from that block in the right at the beginning of the World 8 fort, and the reason for that is you always have to have an item drop that's going to give you a mushroom so that you're big and can have a way of breaking those blocks to get to the next door.
Ooh, that's an unfortunate
Fuck.
clip on the piece there. Yeah, really cool dodge for that, but okay.
I don't think that YoBGS meant to do that. It's very easy just to have your thumb roll over the up button when you're trying to run.
Yeah. So what I was thinking at first is he clipped the P-switch when oh, nice jump from Magoo. He clipped the P-switch when landing on it in the first place, so he basically lost all forward momentum. There was pretty much no chance he was going to get the one cycle anyway. But yeah, I'm not quite sure he meant to do the re-enter about 4 times.
Yeah,
if
if you clip the P switch, you've lost enough time where you're pretty much guaranteed not to get the one cycle. It's really unfortunate when that happens. Oh no!
Oh, now that was somewhat interesting, seeing the use of that there. What could have happened for YoBGS there is it could have been the lock in the way. If he went and gone on to the fort tile first, he could have scrolled the screen to see what was going on, and then maybe he needed to play the fort because the block would be in the way. Or if it wasn't, then it's not much time lost to really take a look first.
YoBGS was ready to go for the fire kill, and then he was able to just get a one-hit stomp on him.
Yeah. It's always nice. So yeah, with the case of with a fire bro there, you can usually just do what Magoo did there and just jump straight over it. Just gotta be a little bit careful of the turnaround fireball, but it's fine. Still gotta do the fort. So through with all of the first 7 worlds, they got a fire flower too. Haven't really been paying enough attention to the inventory to see if that was necessary for a Bowser weapon here, but if it was, then hey, it's nice to get it at the final world, right?
Sure.
Okay, so pulling back a little bit there rather than risking clipping through the floor. I'm sure none of us have ever experienced that, right?
Never happened in my life.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Yeah, PSP strats in 5F2 were not actually as hard as expected, but it's a very scary jump to make when you're landing on the single tile in the middle. So we get the fort from the tank here as well, which is pretty useful.
As we discussed in some of the previous subworlds, you never want to just do a fort for the sake of just doing one. Just just assuming that there's always going to be a lock right in front of you, especially when you have pipe transitions that would take you straight to where the ship would normally be. So you have an opportunity to check to see, what your options are and see if you can skip any levels in the process. A lot of that seems to go right out the window when I get to World 8, though. Like if I see 2 forts or like 2 tanks or ships or something, then I'll just go ahead right there and play both of them. So I don't have to worry about just getting lost through a lot of the pipe transitions going back.
Yeah, I may be guilty of being excessively conservative when it comes to World 8 stuff, but past experience has taught me that if I don't do a fort at the beginning, it's going to either immediately bite me or bite me later on. So, and hey, we've still got to do the thing anyway. I appreciate clearing the level whilst you're here, because if you don't have a cloud, I actually don't remember if BGS still has one.
I just want to say real quick that Magoo was able to get the off-screen wand grab, so he was able to bypass the cloud dropping cutscene, saving him about 4 seconds. Yeah, a really nice job with that P-wing.
Yeah, he managed to keep it through the fight there quite well and all. It was having a little bit of issue just getting to Lemmy a few times there, but did a really good job in keeping that P-wing going. So the opening to this World 8 did actually leave some interesting like thoughts for risk taking at the beginning of this, because you could have, it wouldn't have, I don't think it would have worked this time, but what you could have done is you could have, having done the second fort, just gone up into the pipe at the top right instead of the first pipe like YoBGS did. If you think you're behind, that might actually be the play, because it's the less common play to make. So you're not making the same decision as what your opponent is likely to do. So, you know, if you think you're behind because, say, you've died a couple of times or something, it's the kind of play that you may end up looking into just to try and do something different. You know, World 8's a great equalizer for a reason. You could end up on a better pathway. So you just got to be careful through here. 7F1 and 7F2 on the screen at the same time is quite fun. But
YoBGS went into 7F2 with the Fire Flower. Like I said before, Fort Knox always seems to show up when you have a really cool power-up that you don't want to get rid of.
yeah, if you know where a leaf or a P-Wing is in your inventory, you can save, even with going in with a mushroom, you can save a little bit of time by actually taking the death to the lava in 7F1 and equipping the P-Wing going back in. But it's not a huge amount of time. In brackets, you don't have as many resources. At this point, it'd be fine. But like, you don't have as many resources, so it's a lot harder to deal with. 7F1 was the one that was needed. And he did have a cloud. He didn't actually have to play the 7-2.
Oh dear.
Or 8-2. So once again, YoBGS not using all the class. I love that hammer bro just piecing out there. It's just so funny.
Yeah, speaking of awkward hammer bro mechanics, yeah, sometimes the hammer bros can be programmed such a way where they automatically assume that they're on an upper platform, like when you have those rows of blocks in more traditional levels. But sometimes they'll think they're dropping down to the ground level, but they're just dropping down through the ground itself. It's really funny when that happens.
That's double first try on the top clip there for YoBGS. Really good stuff. It's a lot tougher than it looks, actually.
Alright, so we're going to go for the traditional fire kill. We'll see if BGS is able to save that time. Looks like he's going to do it.
He's doing it in a very different way to how I normally see this done. But he
jumped
gets
off.
it.
Yeah, he jumped off a little bit early, so that kind of threw off the rhythm a little bit. But yeah, it takes 35 fireballs to take out Bowser. And sometimes you can end up with a rare pattern where he'll just jump in a section where it would normally be safe, but his hitbox just barely nicks you by a pixel. But yeah, with that, YoBGS finishes up. Everybody get your GGs out for him, and he finishes with an official SRL time of 35:27.
Very nicely done. Alright, so Magoo is starting the final world before Darkland here. Definitely a solid showing, though. These flags may not look that much more difficult, because, it's the same thing as we've been doing in Group 2. It's just, there's no safety net. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's the whole point. It's like they may not look much different, but you do not get nearly as many resources as you do in the end card version of this. So it's much tougher, and this game is already really difficult in the first place. It's something that we us, or at least you guys doing the speedrun stuff, don't always need to consider as much because you've been playing this for years. But like, this game has a way of humbling you when you think you're getting too good for it. And yeah, I've been talking to a lot of people with stuff here that haven't like grown up with this game or haven't played it before, and it's just like, this game is so much harder than you would expect it to be. Like, it looks simple, but it really isn't.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I've had the game since I was 3 years old, and I'm turning 31 in a few days. So, I mean, over 20 years of just having this in my household, and just returning to it that much time later, just trying to learn how to speedrun the game. It's definitely had my humbling moments for sure.
It's a nice use of all three clouds there for Magoo. Just needs to make sure to seal this out now.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying about the way the bracket flag sets are set up, just considering the difference in overall value of a hammer to create overworld shortcuts, this could, it really offers implications in changes in strategy regarding how racers prioritize item collection. Like clouds will always be valuable, but you can't reliably expect to grab one from the hammer bro fights. So you might sometimes see racers choose to minimize how many hammer bros they'll go for if it can be helped. Yeah. Like I've seen situations where players like the hacks will go for almost no hammer bros throughout the entirety of the seed, and I've seen others go for every one. Yep. So I'd argue that there's no objectively correct approach to. I think each have their own merits and trade-offs. So if you're a player who's confident in their execution and are pretty well adapted to a limited inventory and still remaining in the lead, you could still be ahead of the player by like 1 or 2 extra levels. Every hammer bro fight's going to take like 8 to 12 seconds, so the time you'd save by avoiding them can really eat up after a while.
Meanwhile, welcome in YoBGS. Congrats on the 2-0 here. That first seed, what was your thought was seeing that 6-6 at the beginning there?
I mean, it's the start of like brackets, and it's the start of, I don't know, man. It feels like it's more pressure going in, and seeing 6-6 right out of the gate. I mean, there's like 4 levels you don't want to see, and that's one of them. So I was so frustrated.
Yeah, I can imagine it's that, 7-5, 7-1, and 7-6, I guess, right? It'd be the main ones that you wouldn't want to see. Atlantis,
yeah, you wouldn't want to see Atlantis or Skylantis. Just anything that's going to go slow, and if you mess up, is really going to put you behind.
Right, and yeah, it's tough, especially when there isn't really any way to get a resource for it. As it seemed having a good shot at getting that fire flower at the top, but even then, it's tough. And I think you guys definitely pulled out very well with that one. How about the cloud usage though? Because I noticed in both of these you actually had clouds spare. I'm just thinking, what's your strategy for clouds and brackets then?
Yeah, it was just not being used to having many clouds in the group stage, honestly. I'm not used to having them, and I realized as soon as I threw the block at Big Boss Bass, I was like, oh yeah, I have a cloud, and I'm now too far into the level to just die and use it later, so I'm just going to spend the rest of the level remembering that I still have one. And then I'm trying to remember back to the first seed. I thought there were going to be more levels that we'd have to play than we did. So I was holding the cloud for that, and it was not a smart decision.
Yeah, it's real easy to end up not using clouds because, as you say, you expect to play more stages in certain worlds. If you keep track of what you have left, like say World 2, sometimes you just don't have to play any stages in that, right? Or sometimes in World 7 you have to play all the stages because the game's being a butt, and it's hard to use the clouds at that point just because of having to double back on yourself. So there's a lot of strategy to it, and I was just curious to see because, yeah, we were noticing especially how many clouds there were going through that one. It was just use them or lose them sort of thing, I guess.
But I think I would have had to start using them in World 5 to have gotten all the value out of them. It was just World 6 and World 7 didn't really have any level.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where it comes in, is if there's a world where you have to backtrack, using the cloud is not really gonna happen because you'd have to use it twice. Just get one level, which is usually not worth it unless it's one of the Fated 4, right? But you already did 2 of those, so it wasn't that likely to show up. But
well, and the annoying thing is that the cloud could have made World 8 in the first seed so impossibly easy. If my notes are right, you could have just clouded 8-1, gone up to the pipe, which would have taken you to Bowser, gone down the second pipe, and then hit the first fort there, and you were done.
Yep, that was actually something we figured out. Magoo actually took a game over at Bowser himself because ran out of resources, and used one spare cloud on that pipe, and went pretty much exactly where you said it would. And so I kind of clicked that point, going, "Oh man, if you took a gamble on that, that world could have been so much easier." But like, unless you think you are seriously behind, why would you do that? You know?
Well, and sometimes you just get so committed to your route that like you forget there's an alternative until you're at Bowser and you're like, wait a minute, I think there might have been a faster way to do.
Yeah, it's so easy to tunnel vision off it, but then also at the same time, you don't really want to be going through all the pipe transitions and stuff again if you turn out to be wrong. So it's, once you've got a route, you kind of want to stick to it, just so you're still doing something instructive, right?
Yeah, and I just kept expecting, I mean, usually when you explore World 8 and there's multiple pipes on like the first board, you're like, okay, one of these is going to dump me back out at the beginning at some point, and you just keep going, and then it's like, oh, no, I guess it's...
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely understand what YoBGS is saying about just getting tunnel visioned about the route that you're on. I definitely have a bad habit. Like, as soon as I finish one of the overworlds, that I just mash B, mash A, just to get past the Peach letter. That I don't even see what item that I'm getting beyond what I just got from the Hammer Bros. So I'll be like, oh, I had this cloud or this hammer suit this whole time, and I'm at Bowser's Castle. Oops.
Yep. Speaking of being at Bowser's Castle, Magoo is one stage away here. Just got to do free 8 with the boss bass in there. It's not something you see every day.
Only when you don't want to. If you've got, you've got like a flower, then you usually will it'll be fine. But then the one time you're Small Mario or something, you're...
Yeah, or just Big Mario like Magoo was there and gulp happens. So, who are you playing in the next rounds? Do you know? I haven't got the bracket up with me, I'm sorry.
I'm playing Paradox.
Ooh, that should be a fun game.
Well, I'm 1 in 1 lifetime against Paradox, so it'll be the tiebreak.
Ooh. Definitely got to keep an eye on that one then.
Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to that match, so best of luck to you.
Yeah, and it's nice to be the first race of brackets. I mean, just get to see the rest of everything sort of play out a little bit and get a little bit more practice.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be stressful, especially with how difficult that first seed was. It can be stressful going first, but at the same time, as you say, you've prepped for this. You know what it's gonna happen regardless. So it's nice to be able just to get it done for the week and just be like, now I can relax and watch how everybody else plays. Yeah.
Since you have a little bit of extra time before you schedule your match with Paradox, I'd imagine you're going to be grinding out a couple more practice seeds. Are there anything, any specific skill sets that you want to sharpen up before that big day?
One of the things that I'd been working on was getting the clip in Bowser's Castle, and I got both of those first time, which was kind of surprising. But I think I'm just going to work on sort of tightening things up a little bit. Like, there were a lot of spots where I was just, a few pixels either direction, and I was falling into pits and taking hits I didn't need to take. Like, I guess that's the big thing, is I want to try and avoid taking as much damage as I have been.
Yeah, that's something that I've also kind of been trying to work on, is especially because you have fewer resources and such now. Something I noticed as you were playing that second seed where you weren't taking as much damage, there's a lot of Fire Flower plays that were being super helpful. That if 610, I think, was one of the good ones, where if you didn't have the Fire Flower going in, you'd had to spend a lot more time maneuvering around the boss bass and whatnot. But because you were able to maintain your power up through several stages, it worked out so much better, and that's a really important thing for saving more time here.
Well, and it sounds like it would be minor, but I mean, you take into account how much time it takes to get hit and then get a power up, and you multiply that by 2-3 times a level. It's not an insignificant amount of time.
No, absolutely not. Meanwhile, Magoo did finish there with a great fire kill of his own on Bowser there. 46, was it 50? Where was it? 46-32, his official SOL time. GG, Magoo.
GG's to both of our racers. This was really outstanding performance from both of our racers. So we'll be reaching out to Magoo shortly and see if he'll be joining us in the interviews.
Yeah, I know Magoo said that they had a rough time in the first seed with Bowser's Castle. So nice to see it go a little bit better this time around.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, classic case of running out of power-ups, going in and only having like a couple of lives to begin with. So there were no items. They had to go small the entire way through, and you know how difficult that is going down the staircases and everything as well. It's plays you normally never have to make, and so a lot of people. It's like 7-6 opening as well. A lot of people don't know how to play the stage because they never do it, because you always do like a clip or something to get past it. So it's tough. Anyway, GG Magoo, how are you feeling after that?
I mean, I'm a little upset about it. Obviously, like that game over was the end of competing for this seed, and you got to play 6 more levels after that. But yeah, we're all right.
You did make it through that initial 6-6 on your first go, though. Big kudos to that.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, there were moments where in both these races where like I was playing well, but there just weren't enough strung together, and that's how I'm gonna feel until next year. But hey, we made brackets this time. Like, we're fine.
Well, I still say you did a fantastic job, man. It's never easy going first on these things. It's never easy going in with the bracket setup. Like, I think, were you the one who had was mentioned before that you sort of prefer to play this one just because of the whole, like, no need to worry about the end cards? Or I'm trying to remember who was...
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah,
like, I do prefer bracket stages. I think that they are the way that this game shines. I think that, like, the end card is nonsense. Like, hammers breaking locks is kind of weird. But, like, bracket stages are seriously, like, the best way to see Mario 3 Randomizer. And I totally stand by that.
It's definitely possible to have that concern in the back of your head. Is my opponent going to match more cards than I do? Are they going to start off with an early advantage with having more, hammers and clouds to get easier shortcuts? So I can understand where you're coming from in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
but at the same time, we see, like, I guess the positive and negative side of the stuff here with that unfortunate Bowser's Castle in the first seed, basically just running out of resources by the end of it, which...
Well, I mean, like, I had already lost. It was just like, I refused to forfeit. I will never forfeit.
And I admire you for that.
Absolutely.
That was like 12 tries at Bowser's Castle. Like, Jesus. That was starting to get really embarrassing before I finally, like, put it away. And yeah, it was like, should I forfeit at some point here? But yeah. We got it done.
That was certainly some admirable resilience from you. So, yeah, really, GG once again.
No, thank you. Like, look forward to both of your guys' races. And my bracket's still intact. I did pick against myself.
Oh.
But I have both of you going pretty far. So we'll see what happens.
Well, so much, man. I appreciate it.
We can.
Yeah, keeping my fingers crossed for sure.
Yeah, if everything goes to plan, we have to play each other in 2 weeks. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think the match I'm most hyped up for is like Mustard and Macobra.
Yeah.
Like, goodness. That is a first round match basically, and that will be really, really hype.
Yeah, that is a finals match that is being played in round 2 of this. That's how stacked the stuff is here.
Indeed.
Absolutely insane. Unfortunately, they have not scheduled their match yet, but we do have several other games which are happening in the next couple of days. And one that's happening today. Just under 3 hours time, 10 p.m. Eastern, we have the Classic 188 versus Narfman 0. That will be here on SpeedGaming 1. Buzz Thunder versus Dust Minion will be happening on Friday, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, and that's on SG2. SG3 will have its Paranoia versus DLP 316 at 9 p.m. again on Friday. And then Saturday, you'll be hearing me again at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for Glutamic Acid versus Claris.com, which is the precursor to my own game. So kind of very curious to see how that one's going to go, as you can imagine. And then Gip Extreme versus Dark Shadows 59 on SG2 Sunday, March 8th at 6 p.m. Eastern. So lots of exciting matches coming up here. I'm sure there will be more scheduled soon as well, because I know, Teeks, you have your own game of Hacksaw to schedule within the next week and a half. So looking forward to that too. And
that will be wild too. I mean, there are so many good players of this game. And I'm really not one of them, but it is an honor to be even on the same kind of stage as y'all. Seriously, this is so fun.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit. You're a really solid randomizer player yourself, my dude.
Real talk, this is exactly the way that I was thinking last year when I joined up there. So it's I am nowhere in the same class, but it's great to be performing at the same thing. That was pretty much my mantra last year as well. I mean, look at it. We both ended up hitting brackets and stuff here. So
I mean, you can only, just have to keep getting better. But the level of play in this community is really, really ridiculously high. And it's a bit hard to get into. But I'm gonna keep trying. We're gonna keep going. And
on top of that, we have a really supportive community as it is. I mean, I often see a lot of the people in the randomizer people visiting each other's channels saying, good luck, good luck on the seed. We'll just make commentary as we're making our way through the levels, trying to get an idea of, what we can work on ourselves, what we can learn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the great parts about doing the weeklies is if you're frustrated by something and you're new, chances are there's a top tier runner that got stymied by the exact same thing, and they're yeah, don't worry about it, dude. It was a pain for everybody.
Shout outs to Fire Bros.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
This community is my favorite thing in my life right now, honestly. And
I certainly share that sentiment with you.
Well, we love you too, Vic, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
I love y'all. Cool. I am out of this tournament.
Certainly a pleasure speaking to you, Magoo. And so, just moving on. So aside from the randomizer matches that have been coming up over the course of this week, we also have on the SpeedGaming 3 channel, we have a Link to the Past randomizer going on. And as Gamer Cal mentioned, at 10 p.m. tonight Eastern, we'll have the Classic 188 versus Northman 0 right here on the same main SpeedGaming channel. So I hope to see you there. You're not going to want to miss it.
Have either of you got any last comments you want to make before we wrap this up?
Just thanks to you both, GG's to Magoo, and thanks to everybody who puts these on. I'm always blown away by how many people are involved in getting all of this together, and it's always so cool because I just sort of show up and play, sometimes. So it's awesome all the things that everyone does behind the scenes to make these.
Big shout outs to the SpeedGaming staff for putting on offering to host this event itself, and for Proa007 for organizing this as well. And to Cobra007 for hosting what just launched the SMB3 Randomizer Championship Cup, which is going to be happening concurrently with our brackets. in this tournament.
Yeah, like shout outs to everybody involved in this community. I love this so much, and shout outs to like all the speed gaming staff, like Adirondack Rick, and like everybody else with and Fiesel, like all the speed gaming staff, like you all make this happen, and thank you so much.
Yeah, honestly, this sort of organization of things has gone far beyond anything that I could have dreamed possible when I started streaming all those years ago by now, like back when this was called Justin TV rather than Twitch.
Right.
Yeah, back in those days, I would have never dreamed something like this could have even happened. And it's amazing just seeing how much dedication people have to this stuff. And yeah, as you say, all the work that goes into it, everybody playing as well, like it's just so awesome to see. So yeah, that's on that sentimental note, I think we should probably wrap this up. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully everybody had fun with this as much as we did. And yeah, we'll see you for another race. 3 hours or so, right? So yeah.
So give our racers a follow. Give the commentary a follow should you feel inclined. And I do believe I messed up the name. It should be the Challenge Cup that Makova is hosting.
Yeah, it's still a CC. It still works.
All right. So yeah, this is Teeks88 with Gamer Cal signing off, and look forward to the next races. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.